Hi, I am Matthew Carter. I am 36 years old and live with my wife Mia in California. Mia is 6 months pregnant, and we are extremely excited to start this new chapter in our lives. I have had my share of struggles in the last couple of years, but I can finally say that I am in a happy place now. I did not know that a simple phone call from my mom would take me back to my unpleasant past. Hello Matthew, how are you doing, dear? And how is Mia? I am doing great, Mom. Mia is also doing well. How have you been? I am fine, Matthew. You know this old age is really catching up on me now. Mom, I have told you a million times. Why don't you just move in with us? Matthew, it's very kind of you and Mia to think about me so much. But I don't want to be a disturbance in your personal space. Besides, I have been living alone for so many years now. I am used to it, and we are always in touch. So, nothing to worry about. Okay, Mom. There is no point in arguing with you. I can never win an argument with you. Matthew, I had actually called to invite you and Mia to a family gathering at Uncle John's house next week. A family gathering? What for? John has not been keeping well for some time now. The doctors have also told him that he should now stay with his loved ones rather than going for unnecessary hospital visits, as it is only a matter of time before age-related ailments may catch up to him. He wishes to see his extended family one last time. His kids have, therefore, organized a family get-together for him. Oh, okay. But Mom, I don't think I can make it. I have a lot of pending office work to do before I go on paternity leave. Besides, Uncle John's house is quite far, and I don't know if Mia will be able to travel that far. Matthew, please don't make excuses. I know why you don't want to come. It's been more than 20 years now, son. Can't you just forget all that happened in the past and start afresh? William is your elder brother, after all. Yeah, an elder brother I wish I never had. Matthew, please stop this. Look, it is a family gathering, and it is for Uncle John. You may never see him again. If you are not comfortable, you can avoid talking to William. But you can at least come to see John and your other family members. They would be very disappointed if you didn't turn up. I'll try, Mom, but I cannot promise you anything. After all that we have been through in the last few years, we have finally found peace and happiness. You know how William is. I don't want him to ruin our lives all over again. I know what you have been through, son. It's not been easy for me either. But always remember, Matthew, that in the end, what matters is your karma. You will always be rewarded for your good karma and punished for your bad karma. It doesn't seem like it with William, Mom. He is having the time of his life with all of his dad's wealth and zero responsibility. That's how you feel, Matthew. Money can't buy anyone happiness. Besides, how would you know? You have not spoken to him for the last so many years. Look, all I want to say is, please be there for John. You do remember, right? How John took care of us after your father died. Yes, Mom, I do. Then, please come. It could be our little way to thank him for what he did for us during our crisis. And don't worry about William, you can just ignore him. I am planning to do the same. Okay, Mom. We'll be there. Just for you and Uncle John. Good. John's kids will send you a message with the exact date and time. I look forward to seeing you. I had agreed to be a part of the gathering, but the thought of seeing William's face made me angry and disturbed. Mia sensed my discomfort and asked me the reason for it. What is it, Matthew? You have been so disturbed for the last 2 days since your mother called. It's nothing. Oh, come on, Matthew. I know you well enough to understand that something is definitely bothering you. Please share it with me. Maybe I can help you. There's nothing that you can do, Mia. It's William. We may bump into him when we go to Uncle John's house next week. What is it about William that bothers you so much? Whenever I bring up his topic, you always avoid talking about it. You always share everything with me, Matthew, except the reason for your hatred towards William. What did he do that you hate him so much? Mia, the reason I have not told you about him is because it brings back memories of the worst days of my life. Please, Matthew, you can talk to me. It will relieve you of the burden of your past life. Okay, Mia, do you remember how I told you about my father passing away when I was just 15 and how we were penniless and homeless after that? And how did I need to work really, really hard to get us out of that mess? Yes, I do. That was just half the story, Mia. I never told you how it all happened in the first place. It is the most painful chapter of my life, and I did not want to bother you with it. What do you mean you didn't want to bother me, Matthew? We are a couple. We have promised to be by each other's side through thick and thin, good and bad. Please, Matthew, tell me everything. I want you to get this burden off your shoulders. Thank you so much, Mia. I don't know what I would have done without you. So, the thing is that we were quite well off when I was young. Dad was doing very well at work and provided us with everything we needed and more. Dad always had a soft corner for William as he was his firstborn, even though I know that he loved us both equally. We were leading a good and comfortable life. Go on. William liked to have a lavish lifestyle and made Dad pay for all his unnecessary expenses. He had moved out of the house once he was 18, but he rented an apartment just opposite our house and would keep coming back for money. Mom and Dad fought over it several times. Mom felt that William needed to be independent and stop depending on his father for everything, while Dad felt that he did not see anything wrong in that since William was their son and could ask his dad for help. I did not like William much myself. He always bullied me and belittled me for the smallest of things. Mom always tried to make peace between the two of us and told me that he was just joking around with me since I was his younger brother. But I knew she was just saying it because she didn't want us to drift apart. Did you not tell William how you felt about his behavior? Of course I did. Not once, but several times. But he would keep making fun of me for the smallest of things. I eventually stopped trying to tell him anything, as I knew he would not change. Besides, he was not staying with us any longer and would only come occasionally to meet Dad when he needed money. He had almost stopped interacting with me and even Mom after a point. So, it did not bother me any longer. But I do remember Mom being hurt by his indifference towards us. And your dad never said anything to William? Not that I know of. Dad was very busy with work, and perhaps he did not want any more fights with Mom because of William, so I guess he never really brought up the issue. Then one day, Dad came from work really exhausted. He said he was not feeling too well. He went to his room to rest, but we soon heard a loud noise from his room. He had fallen to the ground unconscious, and there was blood oozing out of his mouth. We rushed him to the hospital. They ran a few tests on Dad, and he was diagnosed with blood cancer. Our world came crashing down, and Dad's health started deteriorating rapidly from there. I then started crying inconsolably as I remembered my dad's illness and how he suffered in the last few months of his life. Mia calmed me down as I continued with my story. Dad was undergoing chemotherapy and was in a lot of pain. I was very young back then, and I could not bear to see my father, who I had always seen working very hard, being extremely active, being bedridden, and suffering so much. Mom resigned from her job so that she could take care of Dad. She kept a brave face in front of Dad but broke down several times when he was not around. Dad, too, tried to keep a smiling face in front of us and never complained of the immense pain and discomfort he was suffering. William came back home to stay with us under the pretext of helping out. But both me and my mom had no idea that he had come back, not out of concern or love for his father, but to secretly carry out his evil plan. What evil plan? The doctors tried their best, but Dad was already in the last stage of cancer. He passed away after 8 months of constant suffering. Mom and I felt numb and helpless. Although we had lost our biggest support system, we took solace in the fact that Dad was finally relieved of all the suffering and would hopefully be in a better place now. But we had no idea that life was going to get even worse. As in? William had apparently moved in back with us during Dad's last few days to emotionally manipulate him. He had tricked Dad into signing a will that he had prepared on Dad's behalf, which said that all of Dad's belongings, including his house and wealth, were going to be transferred to William once he died. Dad obviously felt that William was trying to be the responsible man of the house after he would pass away, or maybe Dad was not even aware of what he was signing, as he was physically and mentally very weak back then and William could have easily cheated him. Whatever it was, it changed our lives forever. What happened after that? When William showed us Dad's will, we were shocked. But what shocked us even more was that he told us to get out of his house at that very moment. I remember Mom crying and begging him not to do this to his own mother and brother. But he only ridiculed Mom. He had absolutely no remorse for his dad's death, and it almost seemed that he was waiting for him to go so that he could take over his entire wealth. Oh my God, how could he? Did you not protest? Well, of course we did. But there was nothing we could do legally. He had shrewdly done the paperwork in such a manner that we would not get a penny from Dad's wealth. We were still grieving the loss of Dad when Mom and I found ourselves on the roads without a single penny. It was then that my father's brother, Uncle John, helped us out. He took us to his home and gave us shelter and food. I started doing odd jobs, and Mom went back to her old job. It took us more than 6 months before we could collect a decent amount to be able to rent a small apartment for ourselves. Uncle John supported us financially and emotionally throughout those 6 months, and even after that, whenever we needed any help. He even attempted to reach out to William and explain to him that what he had done was wrong, and he could not treat his family like that, but William was least bothered. Things must have been very hard for you. Yes, it was definitely very hard for me, but it was even harder for Mom. She had just lost her life partner, and she was not even given time to mourn for her loss. She had to quickly gather herself and go back to work to provide for me and herself. I was still studying back then and could barely make any money doing odd jobs. You know, Mia, had William done this to just me and at least taken care of Mom, I would have probably forgiven him. But I will never forgive him for what he did to Mom. That's why I am worried about going to Uncle John's gathering. I don't want to see him. I understand, Matthew, but why are you so worried? Maybe William will not be invited to Uncle John's house in the first place after all that he has done to you all. That's unlikely, Mia. William is currently working as the manager of the same company as Uncle John's son, Mark. Surely Mark would not want to get in the bad books of his manager. That's okay, Matthew. Don't work yourself up so much. As your mom rightly said, we will just ignore him. We are going there for your uncle, who helped you both during your worst times. True. That is the only reason I accepted the invitation. After all that he has done for us during our life's most difficult time, the least I can do is meet him on his deathbed. The day of the family gathering finally arrived. Mia and I greeted Uncle John, who looked frail but was happy to meet his extended family. We also met and greeted Mom, my cousins, and my extended family. And just while I was exchanging pleasantries with everyone, I saw William at the door. I was seeing my estranged brother after 21 years, but I could easily spot him at a distance. After all, he was the one responsible for turning my life upside down. He still had the wicked smile he had when he was younger. He would flash it every time he ridiculed me for the smallest of things. I quickly took my eyes off him as soon as I spotted him and started interacting with other people in the room. But he directly walked up to me as soon as he entered. "Hey Maddie, how are you doing, little brother?" He gave me the same wicked smile again. I knew that he was up to something, so I chose to completely ignore him and was starting to walk away from him when he spoke up again. "I can see that you are still that timid and scared boy that you used to be. You don't even have the courage or courtesy to reply to your elder brother, hey?" This time, I couldn't ignore him. I had to give it back to him. "Really? You are talking about courtesy? A man who had the balls to cheat his dying father and leave his mom and younger brother on the streets is talking about courtesy. And if being courageous means being selfish like you and cheating your own family for money, I am okay with being a coward." Wow, you seem to have picked up some newfound courage from this young lady standing beside you. She seems to be pretty. How did an ugly boy like you land up with a pretty woman like her? You keep my wife out of this. I was so angry at the moment. I would have really hit him hard if it were not for Mia, who was standing beside me. She held my hand tightly and started taking me away from there. "Wife? Really, a loser like you found a wife? Surprising. And I can see that she is expecting a baby. You should pray to God that your baby doesn't turn out to be a loser like you." "Excuse me. We have had enough. Why are you even talking to us when it is very clear that Matthew doesn't want to acknowledge you?" "So typical of you, Matthew. When you were younger, Mom always protected you and spoke up for you, and now it is your wife. Anyway, if you don't want to speak to me, neither do I. I just came by to say hi. Besides, I don't want to embarrass myself by speaking to tacky people like you." "Then why don't you just leave?" "I will. But just to let you know, Dad would have been disappointed to see you if he were here today. You know, he always liked men who could stand up for themselves and their family. Not a coward like you who would hide behind his mom and wife." "Really? Then he would have absolutely hated you if he were here today. When did you ever stand up for your family? On the contrary, you were the one who did not think twice before cheating on your own family when they needed you the most. Forget being the man of the house, you even took away everything that was rightfully Mom's." This time I held Mia's hand and walked away from there quickly before he could say anything else. Mom was watching all that was happening from a distance. William walked up to her as soon as we left. "Hey Mom, you seem to have forgotten you have 2 sons. I tried calling you a couple of times in the last few years, but you did not pick up my call. First of all, it is not Mom but Stella for you. Secondly, you have just called me twice in the last 20-odd years. And why did you call me anyway? Did you run out of your father's money? Did you want more money? Oh, come on. Matthew was always your favorite. If I had not done what I did, you would have given everything to him. And why would I ask for money from you? You never had any money anyway. You were with Dad because of his wealth. You never really had any money of your own. You had a small job that hardly paid you anything. You know, William, all these years I was wondering if you would be repenting about what you did. I also thought of calling you back when you had called. I wrongly assumed that you may have called to apologize and make amends. But I am so glad I did not call you back. I can't believe how shameless you can be. As for your dad, I was with him because I loved him. I would have loved him even if he did not have all that wealth. And just by the way, when I married your dad, he did not have any money, he did not even have a job. It was only after 9 months of our marriage did he land a job, and it took many, many years for him to be successful. But it did not matter to me how much money he had or how successful he was. All that mattered to me was that we were by each other's side and loved each other dearly. Mom also walked away from William and refused to acknowledge him throughout the evening. I wanted to leave from there at that very moment, but both Mia and Mom convinced me to stay for Uncle John's sake. As for William, he stuck to talking with Mark all evening, as no one else in the family acknowledged him. Although I was livid when I saw him, at the end of the evening I was glad that both me and Mom got some kind of closure. Somewhere in the back of our minds we still had a feeling that William had made a mistake, that he could be sorry for what he did, and that he may have felt guilty all these years. But after meeting him, we both realized that he was just a greedy person who was full of himself. He did not deserve any forgiveness. I soon got back to my routine life. About 2 weeks later, I was invited to a company event as their guest of honor. It was the same company in which William and Mark worked. And what's more, the company had also accepted a deal that I had been working on for the last 2 weeks. I immediately accepted their invitation. I reached the event venue at the exact time conveyed to me. I was looking for William, but he was nowhere to be seen. Soon the event started, and I was guided to my seat. The compeer of the event was none other than William. He introduced the company and the agenda for the event. He then invited his boss to the stage and told him to speak about the event. My brother's face went pale when his boss took the mic from him. Hello everyone, I am Steve. I would like to thank you all for being a part of such an important event for our company. But most of all, I would like to thank our guest of honor for tonight. Say hello to the founder of a $20 million business, Mr. Matthew Carter. The spotlight shifted from the stage to my seat. Please come up on the stage, Mr. Matthew. Our audience would love to hear a few words from you. I walked up to the stage. I could barely control my laughter, seeing William's pale and shocked face on the stage. Thank you all for having me here. It is wonderful to be a part of this event. This company has been around for many years now, and I am glad that... Steve, should I spill the beans now, or will you do the honors? Allow me, Mr. Matthew. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matthew here is not just our guest of honor for this evening, he is also the new owner of our company. Yes, you heard that right. Mr. Matthew has taken over our company, and we will be completing all our final paperwork tonight itself. It is a new beginning for us, and with an intelligent and smart leader like Mr. Matthew, I am sure that the company will reach new heights in the years to come. Mr. Matthew, now that I have made the big surprise announcement, I request that you now please address the audience here as the new head of the company. Thanks so much, Steve. I have worked really hard in the last 20 years to reach where I am today. And I am so glad that I now have one more company under my radar. I have taken over this company with the aim of making it one of the top companies in California. And with the support of the team working here, I am sure we will achieve this dream soon. The air was filled with thunderous claps from the audience. But all that I could see at that moment was William looking down in disbelief. Before I get down, I would just like to give a heads up to the team working here. I am a believer in honesty and integrity and do not like to work with people who are greedy and dishonest. I sincerely hope that each and every individual working in this company will take note of this. Not taking much of your time now, I would just like to end by quoting something my mom taught me and that I believe is the reason for my success in the end. What matters is your karma. You will always be rewarded for your good karma and punished for your bad karma. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy your evening. I stepped down from the stage to enjoy the rest of the evening. William excused himself from compering the event as planned earlier as he suddenly started feeling unwell and handed over the responsibility to another colleague. Once the event was over, I went to the back office to sign a few papers to complete the formalities. It was already quite late by then, and as I headed towards my car door, someone put his hand on my shoulder from behind. I turned around to see William. "Hey Maddie, congratulations. It's so good to see you do so well. I had no idea you were so successful." Of course you didn't. Otherwise, you would not have behaved the way you did 2 weeks ago at Uncle John's place. "Oh, come on, Maddie. I was only joking. You know me, right? I like to pull your leg just for fun. I am your elder brother after all. It's like a joke between two brothers, right?" Wrong, absolutely wrong. First of all, I am not Maddie. To you, I am Mr. Matthew, your boss. Secondly, nothing you did or said looked like a joke to me. You cheating on Dad was not a joke. You taking away everything we had was not a joke. You throwing out your mother and younger brother from a house that also belonged to them was not a joke. My mom working for hours together to feed me and make ends meet was not a joke. And me being forced to suddenly grow up and take responsibility was not a joke. Maddie, I mean Mr. Matthew, please don't take it wrong. I was just scared at that time that Mom would give you everything once Dad died. You were always her favorite, and I thought she would abandon me since I was always a spoiled child in her eyes. Whatever I did was only to protect my future. And what about my future? What about Mom's future? Don't you dare put all the blame on Mom. You knew that Mom loved us both equally. She just reprimanded you so that you could be a better person. You cannot blame all your wrongdoings on her. The truth is that you are, and will always remain selfish and greedy. And as I said in my speech a while back, I do not like to work with greedy and dishonest people. So now you will take revenge from me. I knew it. You have just taken over this company to fire me from my job. Everyone is not like you, William. I have been planning on taking over this company for the last 3 years based on my market research. But when I learned from Mark that you too work for this company, I backed off. I did not want it to come across as a desperate move from my end to remove you from your job. But when I met you again 2 weeks ago, I realized that you do not deserve any kind of pity or favor from me. So I contacted your company and made all the necessary arrangements to take over the company. My only condition was to keep it all hush-hush until all the formalities were completed. I, after all, wanted to give you a pleasant surprise, big brother. I started laughing. William was annoyed as I had expected and left. I was in touch with Mark this whole time. He had informed me that William had already spent all of his dad's wealth owing to his extravagant lifestyle. He got married 5 years ago, but his wife left him only 6 months after their marriage due to his drinking and gambling problems. He had to even sell off his dad's house to pay off all his debts due to gambling, and he was now living in a small rented apartment. His job was his only source of income, and although he already had a couple of red slips at the office, the only reason he was not fired yet was because of his buttery ways and sweet talk to the seniors. The very first thing I did the next day was hand over a termination letter to William. He was now jobless and penniless, and he would probably be homeless too in a couple of days. He was now in the same state that he had left me and Mom in 21 years ago. Mom was right after all. You will always be rewarded for your good karma and punished for your bad karma.